Don't need my note taken. I've got bored with my note taker, I think. Right, who's going first? You've got the running order there, have you?
Yes.
Good. And you're all going to be ready. So there'll be somebody waiting to take over. So it'll be really smooth, will it? And where's Evetta?
Here.
Good. Okay. So where's the person going to be speaking?
Just in front.
Yeah.
Just in front. So where's
Yes.
so the visitors will want to see their face. So they're looking towards me or towards you?
Towards you.
Okay, that's all right. All right. Let me just view the lobby. So we've got Daniel and Vanessa here on time. Alan's here. Christian will come in anytime soon. Keith just told me that he's struggling to create an account, and I don't know why he's creating an account. So let me try and tell him he doesn't need one. Oh.
I was wrong. Make sure you do your best.
Precious.
Hi, Maggie. At least you should tell us when there's like 1 minute left to conclude. Yeah. Just be I don't know how to do this.
No.
Okay.
Have you heard each other's presentations?
Yes.
Oh, have you? Oh. So there's no surprises for any of you. Okay, so it's for the rest of us. Okay, let me let Daniel and Vanessa in. And then, but definitely, oh, Keith's here as well. So hopefully Christian will rejoin in a second. And then what we'll do is I'll let other people in. Don't you worry about letting people in. I'll let people in as they join, because some people might just want to come in for a short time. They have maybe coming home from work or something like that and might not be able to join the whole time. But got 3 people joining.
There's us. Oh, we don't want to see us.
Hi, Vanessa. Hello.
Hello, Helen. Hi, everyone.
And hello, father of Vanessa. Oh,
Yes, that's Dad.
Patriotic
That's Mum.
Daniel.
And Daddy.
Oh, hello. Hi. Hi, Keith. How are you?
Hello, Helen. How are you?
Great, thank you.
I see a room full of
so-
students.
Yes, yeah.
Hello,
we're
our
just
moon
waiting.
student.
Hello.
We're just waiting for Christian joined early, and then yes, and then he'll be in a minute, and then we can kick off. Other people might join as and when. So, and I have set it to record. Have you all been asked? Yeah. So right. So the recording should take place.
That's great, because then I could pass it on to the other mentors, Helen, the ones that can't make it tonight.
That's a great idea, isn't it? Because I'm sure they've got marking and things to do. So how was your trip to Zambia, Keith?
Absolutely outstanding. I met some really cool young people while I was there.
Did
I
you?
met this
What, 5?
girl named Mercy. I met another girl named Christine. I met 2 boys named Hopkins and Desmond. And I met
Miriam and Caleb.
Miriam I met.
And Callum.
And I also met Caleb, who I
Yeah.
don't think is with us tonight, but I met at least
No.
5 out of the 6 people that are with us tonight.
Yes. Yeah.
It was great. It was great to see them. How did they enjoy it? Did they talk to you at all about it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was really, I think their minds were blown by the number of different nationalities that you
Yeah,
had
there's a
with
lot,
you.
there's a lot.
Yes. I don't
And
think I'd
I'm assuming we got the
appreciated that.
Chromebooks. We got the Chromebooks to Bumble, okay? Yeah.
I'm assuming that I haven't heard anything about that. So I probably ought to, I'll just introduce you while we're waiting for Christian. So
Fantastic.
Keith works for ECOLINT, or International School of Geneva, and he recruits from his teaching group all the people that help the students with their research essays. So and also has taken on 3 mentees this year. In addition, the school provides us with secondhand Chromebooks. So they brought 30 with them. So we've got Chromebooks for all next year's students as well, and some spares for our other projects that are going on. So we're always very grateful to you for that. And it's great because the students bring them over to Zambia. He brings a trip to Zambia, and so the students bring them. So it's transporting them isn't so difficult. Whereas if I was trying and pick them up and bring them, that's quite hard and not very easy. And then Vanessa is one of our trustees. She lives in Tunbridge Wells, but she's actually sitting in South Africa with her mum and dad. And then
Okay.
and then Daniel's in Germany. So we've got Germany, Switzerland, the UK, Zambia, and South Africa. That's amazing, isn't it?
International bright young things, all of us.
All of us. Yeah. I don't know why they're laughing. I don't know what happened with Christian, because he was on the call straight away. Anyway, I think we should just start so that we don't lose time, because it would be very easy to lose time. The internet's looking good at the moment, so touch wood, it'll stay good. Ebeta, over to you.
All right, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening. So I welcome all of you to the Students Research Essay presentation. My name is Iveta. So tonight I'm glad to be your MC, of which I will introduce every student as they read out their essays to you. Like every student here, like they put their hearts and their souls into writing their research essays. So it's like we're in for a treat as we listen to their incredible presentations. So before I call for the first one, I welcome all of you and I thank you for joining us to listen to us. So I promise you won't be bored and you're going to get some interesting topics from us. So our first speaker tonight, who will be the first one to present his research essay, is Martin.
What's that?
Martin.
Marsha.
Yes.
Martin. Hey, Martin.
Hi, Vanessa. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I'll be presenting my research essay titled, "To What Extent Can Integrating ICT into the National Curriculum Aid in Zambia's Economic Development and Student Educational Outcomes, with reference to Kenya and Singapore's educational curriculum." So this research essay explores the potential impact of ICT on education and economic growth in Zambia, using Kenya and Singapore as comparative models. The purpose of my research is to examine how ICT integration in Zambia's national curriculum can address educational gaps and contribute to economic development. So ICT in education can be transformative, bridging technological gaps and enhancing digital skills that are crucial for future job markets. Understanding this impact is vital for Zambia, where technology can drive significant progress in both education and the economy. My interest in ICT as a transformative tool for education inspired this research. ICT not only modernizes education, but also prepares students for a tech-driven economy, which can create equal opportunities and empower underserved communities. Additionally, witnessing Kenya's digital literacy program and Singapore's advanced EdTech initiatives sparked my interest in examining how Zambia could benefit from similar projects. Both countries highlight how ICT can provide students with valuable skills supporting economic and personal growth. I chose Kenya and Singapore as comparative countries because they have both made notable strides in integrating ICT into their educational systems. For example, Kenya's digital literacy program, which provides devices and resources to primary schools, and Singapore's long-term investment in teacher training and digital resources offered valuable insights into effective ICT strategies. My findings highlighted several challenges in Zambian schools, particularly regarding access to ICTs and the digital divide, especially in rural areas. So my research indicates that integrating ICT into the Zambian education system can yield two main benefits. One, improved educational outcomes and economic growth. For students, ICT fosters engagement, digital literacy, and critical thinking, all of which contribute to better learning outcomes. Economically, as students gain ICT skills, they become more employable and better equipped to contribute to a digital workforce. Throughout my research, I encountered challenges in finding specific Zambian data. Not much research has been carried out in relation to ICT in education, its impact on learners and the teaching system, and the overall impact on the broader economy of Zambia. And the little that has been done is very hard to access. Case studies, though, from Kenya and Singapore also enriched my analysis by showing practical applications of ICT in similar contexts. Feedback from mentors and peers was also invaluable in guiding my research focus and strengthening my arguments. My recommendations for Zambia's ICT integration include increasing teacher training to help educators feel more confident in using technology, enhancing ICT access in rural schools, partnering with organizations to provide devices and internet, and develop a phased ICT master plan similar to Singapore's. These strategies would ensure sustainable growth aligned with Zambia's educational goals. Future research could explore other countries' ICT strategies assess the long-term impacts of ICT integration in education. As Zambia moves toward digital transformation, a strategic ICT plan in education can drive both educational excellence and economic growth, bridging the skills gap and preparing students for a future in a digital economy. Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
Singapore. Oh,
So that was Martin, and he's done with his own presentation. So next online is
that's another
Mercy.
business.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
My name is Mercy Kasapo, and today I'm going to be presenting on my research essay titled, "To What Extent Has Society's Expectations of Masculinity Perpetuated Gender-Based Violence?" Let me take you a bit back to where my passion began. 10 years ago, I witnessed an event that would forever change my life. It was a woman badly beaten by her husband. However, just like many other women in the society, she did not report it. And that event, not long after, repeated itself over and over and over and over again, up until we shifted. I still wonder what happened to Mrs. Banda, if she's still alive or not. When I came to Amun, I was asked to write about any topic in the world, and I thought, why not gender-based violence? I constantly asked myself, why did she not leave? Why did she not take her 4 children and go and start a business somewhere else? However, just like the many women that undergo gender-based violence, she did not have an option. she did not have a steady income to support her family. This brought me to come up with a research question titled, "To what extent can equitable support be implemented effectively in Zambia to empower victims of gender-based violence?" However, through constant research and I realized that empowerment is not enough. What we need is to find the root cause of the violence. Instead of focusing on the victim, I focused on the perpetrator. Why were they doing it? And how can we stop them? This led me to come up with my second research question, which was, to what extent has the societal expectations of masculinity and how have they contributed to gender-based violence? If gender-based violence was a pool of water, my first research question would be me mopping the water, and my second research question would be me closing the tap and then mopping the water. I then came up with this research question, which focused on the perpetrator instead of the victim. The research explored the extent to which societal expectations of masculinity perpetrated gender-based violence, because cultural norms surrounding masculinity often emphasize aggression, dominance, and the suppression of emotions, which can manifest in violent behaviors towards both men and women. Addressing GBV requires challenging and transforming these cultural norms and beliefs through education, advocacy, and the promotion of gender equality, and to respect human rights. By addressing this injustice, Zambia can create a more inclusive and equitable society where all individuals can live free from violence and discrimination. However, this research did not come without challenges. I faced a number of challenges, some of which being 51% of Zambians think gender-based violence is a private issue, hence it is not acknowledged as much as other countries. Some other information were biased because of the organizations and what they were trying to promote. I also faced challenges in accessing certain documents because they required library cards, of which I did not have. All in all, I managed to come up with a fully referenced paper, a 4,000 research paper, fully referenced, and which I submitted. I would like to thank my mentor, Mita Dokia, for always being available, and the Almoon staff, Helen especially, and Justin, for providing me with a Chromebook and internet access, and for always answering to my sometimes ridiculous questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So, the next presenter. So to start with, when we joined Almoon, we were sent to do a community project to find out the causes of unemployment in our communities. So from that research, of course, I got a lot of reasons that caused unemployment and other social challenges, but I chose to pick the one which many people gave, which was economic downturn. From it, I chose to visit at a national level to know what could be causing the problems with the economy. And on that as well, I got a lot of reasons, but what got to me the most was the foreign aid. That's why I came up with a research question, which asked, to what extent does foreign aid and investment inhibit development in Zambia? So I thought this topic to me was very important because Zambia, despite receiving substantial foreign aid, around 60% of its population lives in poverty. So I'm going to explore the background of Zambia's economic performance and when they started getting the foreign aid. So Zambia has been dependent on copper mining, which has left its economy vulnerable to global price fluctuations. When copper prices drop, so does Zambia's revenue, leading to budget deficits. This lack of diversification has stunted growth in other sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, leaving many without jobs. In contrast, South Korea has successfully diversified its economy, moving from agriculture to technology and manufacturing, which has significantly boosted its economic reliance. So I've mentioned South Korea because it's the country I was comparing Zambia to, of which it was receiving aid as well, but now is even a donor at the moment. Foreign aid in Zambia began after independence in 1964, aimed at fostering development. However, this has created a dependency cycle where nearly 70% of the national budget relies on foreign aid. Meanwhile, South Korea received substantial US aid post-Korea War, but used it strategically to build infrastructure and develop industries, of which it's no longer an aid recipient now, of which it is a donor. So my research shows that over-reliance on foreign aid in Zambia reduces local capacity and accountability. Instead of empowering Zambians to take charge of their economic future, it often leads to a cycle of dependency. To talk about the positives of, I know foreign aid has done a lot of positive things in Zambia, like the infrastructure and the investment things in the mines. It has the positive impact as well. Foreign aid has funded critical social services in Zambia, like healthcare and education. For example, it helped reduce child mortality rates significantly over the years. But even after doing these good sides, the bad sides are the ones which failed rather than the good sides, especially in rural areas. Dependence on aid has led to loss of competitiveness for local industries when the focus is solely on attracting foreign aid funds rather than building local capacity. It has stifled innovation. So to move forward, I believe Zambia has to focus on mobilizing domestic resources, encouraging local entrepreneurship and innovation. By investing in home growth solutions, like South Korea did, Zambia can reduce its reliance on foreign aid while fostering sustainable growth. In conclusion, balancing foreign aid and domestic resource mobilization is crucial for sustainable development in Zambia. The lessons from South Korea are clear because I did give analyzation comparing the traditions and cultures that Zambia and Korea has, and Zambia can still learn to invest in education and also increase its working hours to manage to at least use the foreign aid well, as it also balances the use of its domestic resources to fund sustainable development. So that was all for my presentation. And the next online after me is Eddie.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My
Hi,
name is Ed.
Eddie.
Hi, Lisa. Yeah, so this evening I'll be doing my presentation for my research paper, which was titled, "To what extent does limited access to electricity affect the key sectors of Zambia's economy and hinder the country from achieving larger economic developmental objectives?" To begin with, in Zambia, like many other developing countries, limited access to electricity has a profound impact on economic growth and daily life. This research investigates how frequent power shortages affect crucial sectors from industry and small businesses to healthcare and education. My interest in this topic is deeply personal, having experienced these disruptions firsthand while growing up in a community that had no access to these basic components of daily life. This study highlights the challenges that electricity shortages pose to economic diversification and investment, and other insights into how, and gives insights into how energy diversification could drive sustainable development across the nation. My research revealed several critical ways in which limited access to electricity constrains Zambia's economic growth. Firstly, businesses and industries across the country are severely impacted by frequent power outages. These blackouts disrupt manufacturing processes and bring production to a halt. For local businesses, such as the internet cafes and the barber shops that I visited, these disruptions translate into significant income losses. Many small businesses rely on expensive backups like generators, but the high operational costs associated with these generators further reduce their profitability and limit their growth potential. The findings for this research project also highlights the impact of electricity shortages on Zambia's industrial development. Reliable electricity is essential for sustaining economic industrial productivity and maintaining quality control. Without a dependable energy supply, Zambia's capacity to attract and retain investment in manufacturing and other energy incentives industries is limited, stalling industrial progress. This research also explored how inadequate electricity affects healthcare and education. Hospitals and clinics are dependent on a stable power supply to operate medical equipment such as ventilators and diagnostic machines. Without reliable electricity, patient care is compromised and critical services may be delayed, especially during power outages. In education, electricity in over 55% of schools limits learning opportunities for students. This restricts students' access to technology and reduces their study hours, making it challenging to equip them with the skills necessary for a competitive job market when they graduate. Lastly, limited electricity hinders Zambia's efforts towards economic diversification. Currently, the Zambian economy is heavily reliant on copper mining, making it vulnerable to global price fluctuations. Other countries like Morocco have successfully diversified their economies through renewable energy investment, which attract industries beyond traditional sectors. Through this research, I discovered that in Zambia, however, heavy dependence on hydropower restricts energy diversity and limits expansion into other sectors such as tourism, agriculture, and manufacturing, which are essential for creating jobs and sustaining economic growth. While conducting this research, I encountered several challenges. Accessing primary information was not that smooth, as some business owners were reluctant to share operational details, limiting the scope of first-hand accounts of the economic effects of electricity shortages. Moreover, the process of conducting interviews and collecting data was often constrained by my own limited access to technology and investment and electricity, further highlighting the very issue I was studying. To support Zambia's economic growth, my research points to the need for diversifying energy sources, particularly through solar and thermal power. Such diversification will reduce Zambia's dependence on hydropower and mitigate the risks posed by climate-related shortages. Upgrading energy infrastructure will provide reliable power for industrial operation, healthcare facility, and for educational institutions. That marks the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
That is it. I just ended with his presentation. The next one is Miriam.
Miriam.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to have this opportunity to talk about my research essay, which expresses a part of my passion as an individual who has long dreamed to address the healthy challenges that exist within her community. My passion for sustaining community well-being and ensuring healthy lives drove me to conduct this research paper, which is titled, To What Extent Does Cholera and the Current Epidemic Impact Zambia's Economic Development? Which has been a unique experience all this time because of the guidance of my mentor, Tony. Before I start my presentation, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to have been able to work with my mentor, to receive guidance and expertise from him. Just a quick reminder, eating raw or uncooked shellfish can lead to cholera. So if you're planning on having sushi, make sure it's from a reputable place. Otherwise, you might end up with an unexpected seafood surprise. Ladies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to define what cholera is. So, cholera is a disease of iniquity, an ancient illness that today sickens and kills only the world's poorest and most vulnerable people, particularly in developing countries like Zambia. In a world where access to clean water and adequate sanitation is a privilege rather than a right, it thrives in the shadows of poverty, claiming lives and futures with ruthless efficiency. This is the most anguishing fact that I find amusing, is that cholera will not affect developed and stable communities. Rather, it plagues the already war-torn, politically unstable, and poorest world populations. Imagine a country recovering from post-wars and still battling the massive effects of this disease. To answer my research question, I found that cholera affects the economy to such a large extent as it heavily demands for resources and funds for case mitigation. When funds are diverted to case management, the development of other industries is hampered in the long run. The economic impacts of cholera include GDP loss, increased healthcare expenditure, disruption of economic activities, and reduced tourism. These effects of cholera manifest in increased expenditure at household levels, restricted delivery of services in the tourism and hospitality industry, halting of business activities, and reduced levels of productivity. Additionally, through the loss of lives and unemployment, it creates challenging living conditions among the already underprivileged and poverty-driven individuals. Small business owners in areas like a banana market, one of the local markets in my community, reported significant income losses due to enforced closures and reduced customer traffic during outbreaks. For example, a local restaurant owner experienced drastic drops in sales as fear of contagion discourages dining out. This situation is particularly dire for informal traders who rely on daily sales for their livelihoods. As businesses struggle to recover from post-outbreak, many individuals face long-term financial instability. Furthermore, Zambia has experienced 29 outbreaks since 1977 with varying case fatality rates between 0.5% and 9.3%. Now imagine how much money has been fed to this industry at the expense of other key sectors of development. The direct costs associated with hospitalization and treatment are substantial, with families often facing additional expenses for non-medical items during illness. For instance, households spend money on food and communication while caring for sick family members. The estimated cost per case averaged range from $369 to $532. This financial burden places immense pressure on already disadvantaged households. As one of my proposed solutions to this, I truly believe that governments might prioritize investment in sustainable water supply and sanitation systems because being a waterborne disease, access to clean and safe water can even prevent future outbreaks. Thank you.
I've been really inspired by everyone's passion and their dedication to their presentation. It's making me reflect on my own research experiences. I don't know about others, but anyway, the next speaker is John.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to stand here and present my research essay. First of all, allow me to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to my mentor, John, for his unwavering support and ever-present guidance during the time I was writing my research essay. I think it would be impossible to complete this research essay without his support and guidance. My further appreciation goes to Amun Education for the provision of the Chromebook and a stable internet during the time I was writing. I also think it's totally impossible to write this research essay from home, where power cuts for 21 hours. I'm so grateful for that. Before I delve deep into my main findings, recommendation, and what I've learned from the research essay, allow me to give a brief background of my interests and the reason why I decided to write about the topic I will discuss about. So it was in 2019 when school dropout became my new status because my parents couldn't afford to pay my school fees, seeing that they rely on farming as a primary source of food and income, and the effects of climate change failed us in that year. So from that time, my interest in environmental studies kept growing, not until I had the great privilege to join our Moon Education, where I was told to write a 4,000 research essay about any topic of my interest. I couldn't hesitate but to pick this research topic, which states, as I quote, to what extent can the adoption of better farming techniques help small-scale farmers in the Chieng district of Wapla province improve yield, enhance sustainability, and reduce environmental degradation? So I was triggered to write about this research topic mainly because of the effects of climate change, which has threatened not only farmers, but also other sectors that rely on stable ecosystems for survival. Globally, this research question is worth researching owing to the contribution that small-scale farmers make to the country's economy and the world at large, especially in the Shengi area where the entire population depends on agriculture as a primary source of both food and income. Seeing that the effects of climate change keep escalating, from this research, we will help small-scale farmers to improve sustainability and also stabilize the ecosystem for future generations. I had the great privilege to learn from my mistakes during the time I was writing the research essay. At first, I started using MLA, and after a few talks with my mentor, John, I decided to switch to APA, meaning that at now I know how to cite using both MLA and APA. And I also used hyperlinks at first. So meaning that I now know how to insert hyperlinks in text and how to use them. That was a great privilege to learn from the mistake I made. So the main findings from my research are as follows. Climate change has posed a lot of challenges to small-scale farmers due to drastic changes in climatic patterns, which farmers fail to adapt to. On top of climate change, my community uses unsustainable farming methods, which has brought more effects than good on top of climate change. So technological barriers also exist. Though advanced technology such as the use of machinery and other hybrid seeds that can improve yield for Chinese small-scale farmers can be put in place, it's quite expensive for Zambian local farmers. So I decided to recommend the use of smartphones in the farming industry to share information and also take just pictures and send them to agriculture experts for review and so that they can provide the feedback as soon as possible. So the main conclusion and recommendations are as follows. The increase in yield, sustainability, and reduction of environmental degradation are anchored in a stable climate and the use of sustainable farming methods. So to solve the problem, we must first start by educating farmers on the advantages of long-term effects compared to short-term ones, as they use unsustainable farming methods to sustain their lives in their short-term lives, not knowing that the same land, that's where their life rely on for their long-term lives. In conclusion, I have also recommended that government agencies, non-governmental organizations, and other individual policies should engage in solving other minor challenges that lead people to engage in unsustainable farming methods, such as an equal distribution of farming inputs and lack of structures that can improve their access to information about farming. Thank you so much for paying attention.
When I was writing my research essay and when I've gotten to listen to my fellow students read out their presentations, I've got to discover that learning is a lifelong journey. And thankfully, it does not require GPS, just a good Wi-Fi connection and an open mind. Then you will learn because I've literally learned from my friends and my own experience. So our next speaker is Nathan.
Good evening, everyone. This evening, I will share my research on how technology can enhance crop production for smallholder farmers in Chiwambo district, Zambia. The journey to developing my research question was personal and purposeful. Growing up in Zambia, I've seen firsthand the challenges that smallholder farmers face daily. Agriculture is the backbone of Zambia's economy, employing almost 70% of the population, especially in the rural areas where people rely heavily on farming for their livelihood. Despite its importance, agriculture in Zambia is plagued by challenges such as erratic weather patterns, soil fertility, limited market access, and outdated farming practices. In rural districts like Chibombo, these issues are even more pronounced, and without intervention, farmers struggle to achieve adequate crop yields, leaving families vulnerable to poverty and food insecurity. In researching solutions, I wanted to explore how specific technologies might address these challenges and lead to more sustainable crop production. I also sought to learn from other nations facing similar environmental and economic constraints, but have been successful in integrating technology into their agricultural sector. For this reason, I chose to compare Zambia's situation with Costa Rica and Kenya. Costa Rica, an upper middle income country, has a track record of Zambia and has adopted effective, affordable technologies to support its farmers. These comparisons inspired my research question: how can technology enhance crop production for smallholder farmers in Chibombo, Zambia? To answer my research question, I adopted a dual approach. I collected primary data through interviews with local farmers in Chibombo to understand their practices, challenges, and perspectives on technology. Secondly, I gathered secondary data sources from government reports, academic studies, and case studies, focusing on Costa Rica and Kenya. This combination allowed me to identify relevant technologies and assess how they could adopt for use in technology. So my recommendations that I came up in my research essay are: firstly, promoting biochar production. Introducing biochar through simple low-cost kilns can enhance soil fertility and reduce dependency on chemical fertilizers. Biochar production could be a community-based initiative where farmers work together to produce and apply biochar. Secondly, encouraging solar-powered drip irrigation. Solar-powered irrigation can enhance water sustainability during droughts, improving crop resilience. Partnership with NGOs and government subsidies could make these systems accessible to smallholder farmers. Thirdly, developing mobile agricultural platforms. Establishing mobile platforms that offer agricultural information via SMS and USSD would be instrumental. These platforms would provide updates on weather, market prices, and farming practices, empowering farmers with the knowledge needed to adapt to changing conditions. In conclusion, my research shows that technology can be a transformative force for smallholder farmers in Chibombo. By adapting insights from Costa Rica and Kenya, technologies like biochar, solar-powered irrigation, mobile platforms, and small-scale mechanization can enhance productivity and resilience. Thank you.
I don't know if you know this, but research is like treasure hunt. Except that instead of gold, you usually find a lot of confusing graphs and statistics. But at the end, you get some knowledge of which you didn't have in the beginning. Our next speaker is Christine.
Good evening, everyone. So firstly, before I delve deep into my research essay, I would love to thank Almond Education for giving me the privilege to undertake this research essay and for providing me with a resourceful mentor and all the resources that made this research possible. I would like to thank Phil for his wonderful and insightful feedback and directions throughout the time I started writing this research paper. My research question deals with how far has the current government of President Hichilema addressed the economic challenges the country faces. So my research paper focused on economic challenges in 3 areas, which include unemployment, challenges in the agricultural sector, and in the education sector. I chose this research topic because it aligns with my interest in social and economic development and my desire in public policy. By undertaking this research, I have built an understanding of the challenges my country faces and how some of the policies implemented by the current government have mitigated these challenges. Furthermore, I have also understood certain policies have continued to perpetuate suffering, especially amongst the poor, instead being implemented to eradicate this suffering. By undertaking this research essay, I have improved my critical and analytical thinking skills. It has also improved my interview skills as I had to carry out some interviews to provide objective information on the actual impact President Hichilema has made in these areas. So the following is my conclusion from my research paper. Since 2021, the president has shown commitment to addressing the economic challenges faced by Zambia. Through his economic policies, social empowerment, foreign investment, recruitment exercises, and debt restructuring deals, he appears to have laid a foundation for economic improvement and job creation. However, social empowerment programs have been prone to fraud and corruption, thus not meeting the actual effectiveness to reduce unemployment in the country. In the agricultural sector, President Hichilema and his administration have put in place policies aimed to revive the agricultural sector, such as the increment in wages for farm laborers, the provision of farming support input to small-scale farmers, tax deferment, and partnering with other organizations to provide skills to small-scale farmers across all 10 provinces. Furthermore, through the free education policy, the president has endeavored to address the lack of education opportunities for most Zambians in low-income households. To tackle some of the challenges in education, the government has removed subsidies on fuel, which were using up $1.9 trillion annually from the country's revenue. This allowed the government to spend in social sectors such as education and infrastructure development. However, at the same time, the removal of fuel subsidies has led to an increase in fuel prices, which has affected the cost of essential goods and services, affecting the poor, who make up 64.2% of Zambia's population, with 68% living on less than $1 a day. Many labour policies to strengthen the economy have been put in place, but due to the underlying economic weaknesses that Zambia faces, such as high debt, low investment, and limited tax revenues owing to low growth, many of these policies will be difficult to realize, especially with just 3 years left of the president's term of office. In conclusion, President Hichilema still has a long way to go to ensure that every Zambian has a job and is earning a living to survive. Moreover, the president and his government need to invest in economic sectors such as the mining to increase foreign exchange and revenue flows. Load shedding being a huge challenge, especially for small enterprises and the education sector, which rely on education, the government needs to explore and invest in alternative sources of energy such as solar power. To ensure that every Zambian has a job and that all resources are used for the intended purposes, the government needs to fight corruption. During this research, I faced a number of challenges, but the main challenge I faced was finding credible sources of information which were up to date, especially those which were criticizing the actual impact the president made. Therefore, I had to be innovative and carry out interviews in schools and farms to find out about the actual impact these policies have in reality. Thank you so much for your attention. This is the end of my presentation.
I think Christine should be present.
We keep the energy going as we move to the next speaker. I hope you're not being bored. Of course, they're presenting their best. So our next speaker is Chipalo.
Hi everyone. I am here to deliver my research essay on Zambian humanism. Firstly, I would like to thank our Moon for supporting my research financially and the resources which they have provided me with, including the Chromebook and help from my mentor, Philip Wingate. This help was crucial in pulling me through several challenges that I encountered in my research process. My research essay was To what extent did Zambian humanism guide the policies of Kenneth Kaunda from 1964 to 1991? My specific area of study was Zambian humanism, a combination of philosophical beliefs that Zambia's first president, Kenneth Kaunda, adopted. Kenneth Kaunda's Zambian humanism was a unique ideology that addressed the Zambian social, economic, and cultural problems. His goal was to create a society where people would be more cooperative and have integrity by following principles such as respect, unity, mutual assistance, and non-violence. My interests lie in international relations, leadership, and economics. My duty in this research was therefore to unfold Kaunda's vision, how he perceived Zambian humanism as the solution to instilling social and economic equity in Zambia after the effects of colonialism. Central to my research were two main sources: Kenneth Kaunda's own book, Zambian Humanism and a Guide to its Implementation, which gives a first-person view of his philosophy. The other are research papers retrieved from the University of Zambia Library, which offered further academic insights and towards the impacts and legacies of the ideology. During my research, I encountered a few challenges. Of all the difficulties I met, the biggest one was the unavailability of good literature on Zambian humanism. This lack of material made it difficult for me to make developments and comparisons of such a philosophy. Some resources were limited, and since there is a fairly limited number of published materials, most of the works were not available in Zambia, and their digital copies are scarce. I would encounter websites that have material related to my research essay, but they were not available in my region, which hindered my progress. But with the help of Helen, my mentor Philip, and our Moon's resources, I was able to gather the necessary sources which allowed me to review broader information in assembling an elaborate view of Zambian humanism. My key findings and conclusions were that Kenneth Kaunda's values emphasized unity through mutual help, and many Zambians began to identify with one another. The philosophical perspective helped people to view themselves as individuals with a function in a larger society. However, although the vision was impressive, the challenges that were there eventually led to its failure. From my own research, I argue that despite its cultural fit, Zambian humanism failed to evolve to capture the development of Zambia's economy and the demands of a world that was quickly integrating with the global economy. For instance, the principle of equal opportunities for all provided Zambians with a platform to access education for free. However, the government's tight budget and the imposition of structural adjustment programs hindered the progress of this implementation. There were times when only one textbook was available for a class of 70 pupils. This is one example of the many that led to the ultimate fall of Zambian humanism. Lack of well-developed policies on distribution of wealth and economic growth were also reasons to its failure. The topic of Zambian humanism is significant in a world where society is rapidly parting into various sections along the rough lines of social, political, and economic differences. Zambian humanism is a useful political vision through which one can gain knowledge on human rights, nationhood, and development. Lastly, my desire is therefore that through my research, the philosophy can receive the much needed attention and can generate more interest in the direction that Zambia and all other nations can take in order to adopt humanism into the development agendas, because I believe Zambian humanism is still relevant. Once again, I would like to thank our Moon and my mentor, Philip Wingate. This research was made possible due to your valuable guidance. Thank you for your time during this presentation.
Before we transition to the next speaker, I don't know if you all noticed, but I just want to say that if research was a sport, then these students would be the MVP. They're literally tackling serious topics and they're coming out top. There are more students guided by equaling teachers. Of course, the outcome should be great. So our next speaker is Blessing.
Hello, everyone. So I'm excited to be presenting my research essay on how social norms impact school attendance in Zambia. Absenteeism is a major issue, but it's often overlooked when discussing education, even though it has a significant effect on students' future. In my community, school attendance is rare, and this problem deserves more attention. To start, my research question was, does an individual's mindset impact school attendance in Zambia? To answer this, with help from my mentor, of course, I interviewed students who had dropped out or missed school frequently, or between the ages of 14 and 18. I also analyzed qualitative data from sources like UNESCO and World Health Organization. By combining these perspectives, I wanted to understand how different factors, including economic pressures, cultural beliefs, health challenges, drive absenteeism. In my community, school attendance is often viewed as a luxury. Financial struggles mean that many families prioritize short-term needs over the potential long-term benefits of education. For example, there are many young children in my community who love learning and are curious, but rarely attend school. Instead, they help their family by working in the fields or at the markets to make ends meet. For them, the need to contribute to their family financially outweighs the drive or the passion to go to school. Another factor is the role of cultural beliefs. In rural areas, traditional expectations for boys and girls often limit educational opportunities. Hence, they miss school to help with household chores or even young ones. This is still common in some regions where early marriages is seen normal. These cultural norms create barriers that make it challenging for many young people to attend school regularly. Additionally, the COVID-19 had also played a problem or also contributed to this problem of absenteeism. During the pandemic, schools closed and students didn't have access to remote learning. Months passed without classes and many students lost touch with school. When schools reopened, some students struggled to catch up with school and eventually dropped out. This was especially due to those who were already on the edge of attending regularly. As I continued my research, I realized that mindset, both individually and community-wise, plays a powerful role. In Zambia, there's a common perception that education doesn't lead to success. Parents and students may feel school isn't relevant to their future, especially if jobs are hard to find. Additionally, schools often lack resources, classrooms classrooms are overcrowded, and teachers are sometimes underqualified, which makes students feel less motivated to attend school. Furthermore, health issues are also a big factor. For instance, diseases like malaria and malnutrition are common, especially in rural areas, and lead to frequent absences. And for girls, early pregnancies lead to permanent dropouts. Without access to healthcare or support at school, many students fall behind and struggle to keep up, leading to even more absenteeism. So, what can we do to address this? I have a few recommendations. First of all, there is need to shift community mindsets about the value of education. Local leaders and community programs could raise awareness about long-term benefits of staying in school. Secondly, engaging parents is essential. By educating parents on the advantages of education, they can be encouraged to invest rather than sacrifice. They can encourage that school is an investment rather than sacrifice. Lastly, improving the school environment is crucial. Training teachers to create supportive and inclusive classrooms can create a huge difference in motivating students to come to school. In conclusion, absenteeism in Zambia is driven by economic pressure, cultural expectations, health issues, and most importantly, a community mindset and that undervalues education. Addressing this requires both community engagement and structural support like school facilities and health care access. My goal with this research was to foster a culture shift that sees education as essential for development instead of a sacrifice. And to conclude with my presentation, I would like to also pass my gratitude to Moon for making it possible for me to write this research essay, and also to my mentor, Melanie, for guiding me along the way and helping me improve my writing. Thank you for listening.
I think we all know that Zambia is home to one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, which is the Victoria Falls. So the Victoria Falls is a powerful reminder of the beauty and potential of our country, Zambia. So as my fellow students present their aces, look at them as the Victoria Falls. For they have the potential to make an impact if they work on the topics that they're presenting. So our next speaker is Wankumbu.
Hi everyone. My name is Wankumbu Nambela, and my presentation is based on my research paper question, which was, to what extent does the mental health of young people in Zambia get affected by social media and poverty? So the background of my research mainly stemmed from my love and passion for taking care of the well-being of other people. And when Helen first introduced us to the 400-word research essay, I already knew what I wanted to write about because I really loved learning about the brain. So I chose mental health. I chose mental health because it's important for any type of development to take place, either physical development, economical development, or social development. This is because it's very crucial in how people think and how they communicate to their communities. I picked social media and poverty because these pose a serious threat to the mental health of young people. Young people are the largest consumers of the internet, and poverty conditions are harsh on minds that are not fully developed to cope. Additionally, I also picked mental health because mental illiteracy and poor services of mental health in Zambia are very prevalent. And Zambia is one of the countries in Africa that do not prioritize mental health. My key findings in this research were that the country's inflation has made the poverty conditions worse, and many young people are unemployed. The increase in social media usage increased, and staying on the phone for long hours also threatens the brain's normal functioning. In a research conducted by a professor on the Copper Belt, he found out that more than 70% of students in the 3 colleges experienced depression after spending long hours on social media. Young people's brains are also not fully developed to cope with the situations they find themselves in. Mental health is basically the way people cope with the stresses of life. And if young people are unable to cope with the stresses of life with inadequate help for mental health, then development in Zambia is very limited. Additionally, I also found that in 2019, the National Assembly of Zambia enacted the Mental Health Act of 2019. But the flaw in this act was that it only focused on seriously mental ill individuals, and it was mostly those that were convicted in prisons. I also found that there was only one mental health facility in the entire country, and they also only admitted cases that posed as a serious threat to the community. My conclusions from this research was that unstable employment and insecure income leads to low self-esteem and poor quality of life, which worsens the mental health of young people. Social media significantly impacts young people's ability to cope with the complexities of life. People have low confidence in mental health, especially among Zambian youths. In schools, my suggestions would be that schools, homes, and communities must be encouraged to provide psychosocial skills and cognitive behavioral interventions, and that every individual should be involved in mental health awareness and literacy. Lastly, I would also like to thank our MOON staff and the ECOLINS teachers, especially my mentor, Melanie, for her support and guidance from the beginning of my research up to the end. Thank you.
All right. Tonight for me is like one of the greatest nights I've ever had here because I'm having a chance to listen to the incredible topics that my peers are sharing. So please hang in there for us. We are almost there. Don't get bored with us. We still have a lot to share with you. So the next speaker is Mutinta.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mutinta, and I'm excited to share with you my research essay presentation. So I picked a topic that really interests me, and that is the contribution of businesses to economic development. My research question is, how can improved financial and infrastructure support address the unique challenges faced by micro business owners at Kabana Market and contribute to sustainable development? So the purpose of my research is to explore how infrastructure and financial support improvements could alleviate the challenges and promote sustainable development in Kabana market. The global issue is micro businesses. So micro businesses play a significant role in poverty reduction, employment creation, and economic growth. Despite this, they face unique challenges that hinder growth, especially in developing countries. So located in Lusaka, Zambia, is Kabana Market, which represents micro businesses, the challenges of micro businesses on a smaller scale, and reflect the broader issues faced by micro business owners in similar settings worldwide. So I interviewed 20 micro business owners in Kabana Market, and the vendors there face barriers like lack of proper infrastructure, inadequate financial support, and limited access to resources, which limits their growth and sustainability. So my two main findings were infrastructure challenges and financial challenges. The vendors lack a structured market shelter. They operate alongside a busy road, which leads to safety risks and competition for space along the busy road. In the financial challenges, most micro business owners lack collateral and therefore struggle to access loans. Few have access to village banking, and the rest are unaware of microfinance institutions. My proposed solutions to this is that the Kabana market should have a constructed permanent market structure, which will provide them with a space, with a safe space to operate from. Recently, the Lusaka City Council built a market in Matero, which provided the marketeers with a shelter and some stores for safety operations. This enhanced their business operations. In Kabana Market can also implement such, could also use such a structured market shelter. And improvement of sanitation facilities, waste bins, and regular garbage collection will promote a cleaner environment and attract customers. Under financial support, expanding village banking programs will formalize and strengthen financial literacy among group leaders and members, and increase access to microfinance institutions with tailored financial products and reduced interest rates for microloans. And also organizing workshops on financial management, inventory, handling customer service, and business planning will empower business owners with essential skills. So the challenges I faced when I was doing this research essay is that at first I did not understand my research question. I first looked at small businesses, then I switched to micro businesses because I was looking at those businesses which are mostly not registered with the ZRA, that is the Zambia Revenue Authority. So with the help of Helen and my mentor Claire, I got to understand what I was really researching about, and I managed to write a research that was addressing the micro business owners. Thank you so much for your attention.
I got to discover that public speaking is listed as one of the top fears. Also, spiders or maybe running out of popcorn whilst watching a movie. But don't worry, my peers aren't equipped with popcorns but knowledge, so they ain't running out of anything. So our next speaker is Hopkins.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Hopkins Mwenya, and I'll be presenting my research essay presentation. Yes, and I would like to welcome you once again. So I had to write or research about traditional medicine and modern drugs. How can we merge these two healing processes so that, to come up with healthcare which is effective for everyone and affordable. So my question was, how can traditional alternative therapies and modern medicine be integrated to improve healthcare in Zambia? That was my question. So I would like to share my background of the research essay, And the first point I would like to share is that the main reason I researched this topic is because I wanted to understand and clear up my childhood questions about traditional medicines. So when I was young, probably like 4 years old, I was attacked by a mysterious condition which was reading my head to expand, like started to grow. Yeah. So that was highly scared for me. Like everyone was scared that I won't manage to live again. And going to the hospitals, clinics, all the doctors, they couldn't find cure for it. And it was the help of my grandmother with the knowledge she had about traditional medicine that gave me life and stand in front of you to present about this. So it's my passion that I really want to look at these medicines. What do they have for us? Can we come up with the world which will be free from diseases? And I was inspired by one of my peer research essay with me. She was looking at the cholera disease, and one of them is uh, Desmond. Yes, I really enjoy that. My research essay is looking at is trying to solve the problem they are proposing. One is proposing about traditional medicine shortages, and the other is addressing the disease. And I am coming up with the medicine which is going to solve that issue the other is proposing, and also the next one. The other reason I research about this topic is because I want to major in biochemistry and molecular biology in college, and I thought researching about this topic, which would link the two subjects I want to major in, which is biology and chemistry. So biology is looking at the human body, like the immune system. How does the immune system react to the drugs which are being fed? And biochemistry is looking at the drugs, how do they react with the body? So merging these two was traditional medicine, which are drugs, and even modern medicine again. And the research paper is in existence because of the continuous help from my mentor, who is Keithy Brown. He consistently gave me guidance when I was moving out of my level of research. I remember the first research question I proposed to him was very deep, and it was looking at traditional healers, which we call ngangas local. So he gave me guidance saying this research can only be handled by someone who is doing a master's. Yes. In my research findings, one of them is that the research discussed the statistics for traditional medicine in both Zambia and the world. In Zambia, it was discovered that 70% of the population depends on traditional medicines, and that 80% of the world population depends on them as well, which is a huge number. Then, despite the popularity of these drugs, scientists still question the quality and safety of the drugs. Yes. Most research about this is evidence-based research, and scientists are looking for experience-based researchers. Because of this, traditional medicine remain behind bars to be integrated with modern medicines. However, with proper research and investment in their development, it would remove all the myths about them and improve healthcare by thereby promoting the third SDG. Other thing is that the knowledge about traditional medicines has no documentation, and no documentation are generated for traditional medicine, which makes it hard for traditional medicine to be taught in university like modern medicines. When I was doing my primary research essays from the traditional traders of traditional medicines, they actually gave their reason in saying I was not taught by anyone how to cure or use these medicines. It was just something that came to me naturally. Yes. And one interesting finding is that China and other Western countries have successfully integrated these two systems of treatment, which are strongly standing stable in healthcare because of the inclusive quality of the two systems. Traditional and modern medicine complement each other by strengthening each other. My recommendations for Zambia is that the first recommendation, Zambia must invest in developing of its machinery, like the infrastructures, equipment, which will be used as they are doing the research. The second is that the world scientists must look into the discovery of antimicin to discover the remaining traditional medicines. This would spark all the existing questions and raise answers. There is a need to make traditional medicines learnable in university, like modern medicines. Traditional medicine and alternative therapy should be taught in either schools or universities. However, for this to happen, we must first make sure that the knowledge on these ancient medicines are documented for future use. Zambian government must promote research about traditional medicines, just like China did invest in its integration with modern medicines. Also, a well-structured frame on traditional and alternative therapies, like that of modern medicine, should be implemented to make it look professional and scientific. Thank you for your attention.
It's a great night indeed. Our next speaker is Melvin. Desmond.
Hi everyone, my name is Desmond. My interest for this research essay came about due to the personal experience that I encountered. It so happened that one day I was very sick and I was taken at a local clinic. I was very sick in a critical condition. Unfortunately, I was told that the medicine was out of stock. So at that moment prompted me to understand the main cause of shortages of drugs in Zambia. Of course, with my wonderful mentor Keith Brown, I came up with this question, this essay question, which was saying, to what extent do the regulated police and government placing in the availability and access of drugs in Zambia? Global relevance of this topic. Drug access is a global issue which is recognized both by the World Health Organization, health frameworks, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It is an issue affecting people, more especially in developing countries like Zambia and Malawi. Key finding from the research: access to essential medicine in Zambia is limited due to Zambia rely heavily on imported medicine. We have few local pharmaceutical companies that are producing medicine in our country. A report stated that only 123 registered medicine were manufactured locally out of the 8,154 registered medicine, implying that we are depending on the imported medicine. And if they're not supplying us, local clinics and hospital lacks medicine. And because of the same dependence, Zambia have accumulated a debt about 3 billion due on to the pharmaceutical sectors. And there's also a key enforcement and corruption in the regulatory process. And due to debt, critical drugs like insulin are often unavailable, and most people are referred to private pharmacies at high cost, but most of them cannot afford to pay. And most of those who pay, to private, who are admitted to private, they enjoy the diagnosis, superficial testing, and personal attention, and poor patients in public hospital suffer greatly. And then the recommendation and conclusion: Zambia can do better and improve its drug accessibility by reforming patent laws to promote generic drugs production and expanding public and private partnership, strengthening local pharmaceutical companies through tax initiative which support local production, as that would reduce dependence on imports. Also, improving the health budget allocation and monitoring the distribution system could minimize corruption and ensure access to medicine across the country. Zambia can also apply for financial aid from international organizations such as the World Bank or Global Fund for funding initiative of local pharmaceutical production. With that, this would reduce dependence on imported drugs and ensure the stability of the drug supply. Our challenges encountered. This study was not without its limitation. One limitation was the small sample size of health professions being interviewed. I interviewed few professions. Second, this study was related mainly due to the influence of national policy and did not give much significance on the international factor that affect drug availability, such as agreements on trends and global pharmaceutical behavior. Other sources had the same information but interpreted it differently and came up with different conclusions. This made it difficult for me to come up with a comprehensive analysis due to the limited data. Thank you.
The next speaker is Melvin.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to present on how I developed my research question, what I researched on, and my key findings. So, in 2021, the Zambian government removed the fuel subsidies. So this led to the increased prices of fuel. And when this happened, it affected the economy. I remember there was a time when I was sent to the market to buy some groceries at home, but I found that nearly half of the groceries were more costly than before. When I inquired from the shopkeepers, they told me that this is because they have increased fuel prices. And so the shop owners have to also increase the cost of their products in order to compensate for the new cost of operation. So I wondered, how does high fuel prices cause these products or goods and services to increase their costs also? So when I came to Amun, and then we are looking for we're looking for our research questions, I thought to myself, this would be an opportunity for me to answer my question, which I had in 2021. So my research essay addresses the relationship between the transport sector and the economy. So the transport sector influences the performance of the economy. This is because most economic activities rely on transport. Let's say, for example, in the agricultural sector, farmers use transport to transport their goods to the market, as well as receive farm inputs like fertilizer and pesticides. As well as in the mining industry, the mines export their minerals to other countries using transport, as well as receive mining equipment and mining machineries using transport. So what affects the transport sector also affects the performance of the economy. So on this basis, it's where I evolved my research questions. So in my research paper, I investigated the impacts of high gasoline prices on Zambia's economy. And one of them was inflation, which is the negative impact caused by high gasoline prices. And then I also investigated whether the introduction of electric vehicles can reduce the price of gasoline. So seeing that electric vehicles do not run on gasoline, so mean that they will shun the use of gasoline, therefore reducing the demand of gasoline in the country. But if the demand is reduced, will it reduce the price? So you have to read my research question. Okay, and then also talk about economic growth and as well if they can be facilitated in Zambia. And then my key findings were that the introduction of EVs or electric vehicles will not reduce the prices of gasoline. This is because although they will reduce the demand of gasoline in the country, but the prices will not reduce. This is because gasoline prices are set at a global level rather than at a national level. So if the demand in the country is reduced of gasoline, it will not affect the pricing because the price is affected at a global level. And then my other key finding was that electric vehicle integration can contribute to the economic growth of Zambia. So after comparing the economic advantages of electric vehicle integration in Zambia and its economic disadvantages, I was able to conclude that it will bring more economic advantages because the advantages overweight the disadvantages. Then lastly, through strategic planning and policing, Zambia can facilitate electric vehicles. So like, for example, in Norway, the government have created these tax incentives which make the electric vehicles to be more affordable for mass adoption. Like, for example, they offer tax breaks and reduced import taxes for electric vehicles. So owning an electric vehicle is less expensive than an internal combustion engine powered vehicle. And then the government can also create enabling environments which attract foreign or private companies to invest in Zambia for facilitating electric vehicles. That's the end of my presentation, and thank you.
as my friends were presenting, a quote just came on my mind by Albert Einstein. He said that if we knew what it was we were doing, it would not be called a research. So let's celebrate the curiosity and creativity that we had put in our research. So as we present these essays, we are celebrating the knowledge that we gain at the end of everything. So as we reach to the next speaker, I'm just hoping that you are inspired by the topics we just shared. So our last speaker is Davis.
Teacher.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Davis. I feel privileged to share my research with you all today. As we all know, Zambia is a developing country, and this means it is still trying to put in different policies to improve its economy. Growing up in an area where access to computers is very rare, I found it delightful to set my foot at our moon when I was given the opportunity to use my own Chromebook for the first time. With this advantage, I took a keen interest in exploring computers and realized how much power computers have and how they can help revolutionize our country and how they're just helping revolutionize different countries around the globe. Because Zambia still faces an influx of health issues, including the cholera endemic, I developed an interest in exploring how advancement in technology can help to improve healthcare in Zambia. Seeing that Zambia is still in its early stages of development, I believe transitioning from paper-based records to electronic health records would be the best starting point. For this reason, my research essay addresses the question, to what extent can the implementation of electronic health records help to improve Zambia's healthcare, with a comparison to Estonia and Kenya. So, electronic health records are basically a collection of medical information about a person that is stored on a computer. They include information about a patient's health history, such as diagnosis, medicines, tests, allergies, immunizations, and treatment plans. Before I talk about electronic health records in more depth, it is important to realize that paper-based records pose several challenges, such as data inaccuracy, limited accessibility, risk of loss or damage, and of course, space constraints. As we know, storing paper-based records significantly hinders the development of healthcare, as much more physical space is needed, which can be costly and impractical, especially in facilities with limited resources. As I was doing my research, I surprisingly found that Zambia is already currently using a form of digital health called Smart Care, which focuses mainly on keeping records for AIDS patients. This enables health practitioners to accurately determine the number of people who have been diagnosed with HIV countrywide. Although Zambia has introduced the Smart Care system, its implementation is restricted to urban areas, limiting its impact on health outcomes in rural regions. Challenges such as insufficient electricity, internet connectivity, and infrastructure availability hinders the scalability of electronic health records in rural and underserved areas. The research findings suggest that the implementation of electronic health records can potentially enhance healthcare delivery and curtail many of the challenges that Zambia faces. By transitioning from paper-based records to electronic health records, Zambia can improve patient data accuracy, minimize medical errors, which lead to an overarching number of deaths. It can also optimize healthcare for patients and provide quality care for patients. The Smart Care system, which has already been adopted in Zambia, has shown more benefits than what was initially assumed. Despite this, challenges such as reliable internet connection, proper power supply, and inadequate infrastructure still constrain the system. Even so, the benefits of electronic health records far outweigh the drawbacks. From the experiences of other countries like Estonia and Kenya, findings suggest that these countries have noticed palpable positive impacts on electronic health records. The experience from these countries suggests that Zambia too can revolutionize its healthcare by effectively implementing electronic health records. As a technology enthusiast, I am overjoyed to see the impact that technology has to put forward to enhance healthcare in many of the world's countries, including Estonia and Kenya. Thank you all for your time.
All right, that was the last presenter. So at this point in time, it's the questions and answers time. So if you have questions, you can ask now and we'll provide answers. It can be you or it can be us, the students here. So yeah, this is time for questions.
It's quite
Um,
difficult to ask questions when it seems that you know most of the answers.
Rather than asking a question, can I just give a point of clarification? I know a lot of you mentioned your excellent mentors from the International School of Geneva. I just wanted to point out, you might not be aware that those that had Duncan and Mita as their mentors, they're actually from a different school in Geneva called Florimont. So I did want to give credit to them as well. They came on board this year because with 16 students in our moon, it was difficult to find enough mentors. And I reached out to a sort of a bigger community, and it was wonderful that Duncan and Mita came on board as well. But they are from a different school, very close to Ekelund, but and still in Geneva, but they're not actually Ekelund teachers. So I did want to point that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Keith. I should have pointed that out to them some time ago. I wanted to, just for people that haven't been involved, how long has it taken you to do this essay? When did you start? You want to tell everybody?
April.
Hi everyone, it's John here.
Hi, John.
I think the day of commencement differs from person to person. There are other people like me who started the research essay in April or May when you just went back home. We started our primary research there, like conducting interviews with local small-scale farmers. Yeah, so that's the period when we started, April or May, and we completed it in August, September, in October.
I was going to say, or even today. Today's the final completion, really, isn't it? Of presenting the essays. So it's a very significant piece of work that they've been doing, and doing it over the whole period they've been here. And how did you feel when you were first told you were going to be writing 4,000 words?
We were delighted.
It felt like such a huge number, like 4,000 words was such a huge number.
It's my king.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went over the word limits.
First went over the word limits. And it was quite a hassle now reducing the words from, for example, me, I think I had over 10 for the beginning the first draft. So I had to start cutting it down to now to reach the 4,000 and 10%.
Yeah. Has anyone else got any questions for them?
I would just ask the question well, I think before I ask the question, I would just want to just say that I congratulate every one of you for getting through this. The 4,000 word essay came from something that we do here at Ecolint and as well at the Florimond teachers do with our IB students. The IB students, those that are in the International Baccalaureate, as part of their diploma program to write an intensive analytical essay, this 4,000 words. And so you've been through the process. And I think one of the biggest things about it is the idea that it's not a descriptive essay. It's not something where you are just taking a lot of sources and paraphrasing them and sort of reproducing the sources. You are expected to do some critical thinking and to analyze a research question. And I just want to sort of throw out a general question out there is the idea now that rather than writing something descriptive, something analytical, is there a way that you could summarize the difference between those two essays?
I keep it. Maybe I can give it a try to this one.
Is that Hopkins speaking?
Yes.
Yes, because we talked about this a lot, didn't we, Hopkins? Hopkins, Melvin, and Desmond and I, we talked a lot about the difference between those two types of essays. So go ahead, Hopkins.
The best way you can differentiate a descriptive essay and analytical essay is like a descriptive essay is where you look at one side of the question. For example, if you are looking at I'll talk about my essay. If you are looking at traditional medicines and you are only focused on the advantages of traditional medicines and not looking at the disadvantages, that's where you are just describing the topic you are researching on. But if you are looking at both sides of the question, where you look at the good part and the sad part, the bad part, and conclude which one you and come up with solutions on how you can improve them or propose to the world that, okay, we can do this to make this happen. So a descriptive essay is where you just describe one side of the question, and analytical is where you look at both sides of the question.
Just
I have another more general question that
carry
maybe a few people just want to sort of touch on. And that is, okay, so you've spent, if you remember, we started this with a kickoff way back. Helen, when was that? Was that back in April? That was in April.
Yeah.
So in April, we had that kickoff meeting where I think you probably don't even remember. It still seems so long ago. And I was just based on the screen and suddenly you were being asked to do something that had a global issue with a local context. And suddenly several months later, boom, you got these wonderful essays produced. So I just wonder, the process of writing it is one thing, but it's also the idea that writing that essay gives you a chance to really bury down into a topic that maybe you found interesting, or perhaps you suddenly found, well, that's not something I'm interested in. So for those that are now, and I think that's all of you, are putting in your university applications, has the essay changed your mind about what you might want to study in university?
I know.
It has changed what I want to study. For me, it's better speaking. So before I give a response to how it's changed what I want to study in university, I'd like to respond on the difference between an analytical essay and a descriptive one. So I can is that the structure of a descriptive essay is more flexible, and Twitter talks about imaginary things. It's flexible on what you write, but an analytical essay, it has this structure of you giving a thesis statement, giving evidence in the body of the essay. You give evidence with analysis, then the last part is the conclusion. You have to give your key findings. So yeah, that's the difference that I know. Then how my research essay changed what I wanted to study. At first, I wanted to study medicine. That's because I love biology and chemistry while in school. But after doing the research, I got to realize that my interest lies in wanting to make an impact on people's lives. And the best way I came up with was to do with the economy, which is the biggest problem that my country, Zambia, faces. I didn't know much information until I researched and got to know the causes of the economic downturns. And that's what motivated me now to move to want to study economics in university. Thank you.
As for me, I can say that the research essay has changed my career. That or the course I want to do in university, it has actually broadened my interest in biomedical sciences. Yes, so as I was researching, I had to bump into this greatest scientist from China, who discovered the antimycin drug, which is actually discovered from traditional medicines. So I was inspired by how he approached the discovery. Like after reading his journey of discovery, it actually inspired me, and I see myself in the future like trying to approach these remaining traditional medicine which have not been discovered using his initiative to actually find more of which are remaining to be discovered. Thank you.
Writing my research essay helps me to narrow down what type of program I want to study in university. I remember when I first talked to Helen, I thought I wanted to do medicine and health. Then she told me there are so many aspects of health, I need to pick something that's specific. So writing the research essay on mental health, it helped me realize that I'm really interested in the nervous system and the brain. So I finally decided to study psychology or neuroscience after writing my research paper.
Also, I think that through the research paper that I wrote, same as Hopkins and Wankumbu, my interests have also been broadened. In the beginning, I just wanted to study computer science or anything IT related, and just for the sake of studying it. But now, having written my essay, I want to really apply it in something and just yield something that will help not only myself but my community as well. And I realized that that is through educating those who are underprivileged. Yes.
I think, Vanessa, do you want to ask your question? And then that's probably the last question.
Yeah, no, I think they've pretty much answered the question that I had, actually, because Keith, I was going to say, has it changed your mind about anything that you studied, or sparked a new interest? As because having listened to all of them, the cross-pollination between the research projects, I mean, there's very obvious ones and less obvious ones, but before I go, I just wanted to say, as always, bowled over. I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was better than any movie or any TV program that I've watched. It was just really inspiring, and so much work has gone into there. And I can understand how challenging the research must be, to try and get to it sometimes on those subjects. So, yes, the question was answered, and I just wanted to say thank you to all of the students, and obviously to all of the mentors.
If there are no more questions to ask, I guess I'm going to give the closing remarks. So I would first want to say thank you for joining us here to get to listen to us. You at least squeezed us in your schedules, of which we are really honored. Thank you very much on the behalf of all my fellow students. Another thing I want to say is thank you to all our mentors on behalf of everyone. Their guidance has really been helpful because it is the first time in our life that we got to write research papers. And we literally had no idea. We were so scared how we're going to reach the 4,000 words, but surprisingly, we literally went beyond the 4,000 to almost 10,000, like that. So we really appreciate because we've had this knowledge. It's not going to be hard for us in universities to work on research as we have gotten the skills. I also want to say thank you to our moon. Almost all my friends have talked about saying thank you for the internet connection, thank you for the Chromebooks, but I want to say thank you for equipping us with the writing skill that we have. The skill to analyze information, complex information, like the global issues, to understand them, analyze them, and research more about them. We really didn't know how to write when we came here. So all the writing skills, the ability to analyze information, the ability to research, as it started in our community, it is all through the help of our moon. So we thank you, Helen, we thank Justin, we thank everyone who has always been there to help answer our questions when we seemed that we were lost, always put us in the right direction. Like, all this wouldn't have been a success without your help. So I say thank you on behalf of everyone tonight. And I believe this is the end of our session for tonight. Thank you once again for getting to listen to us.
And can I just say, I'd like to say thank you to Oveta for being a wonderful MC. I think it was only yesterday that I suggested that she took on that role, so she hasn't had long to prepare. You've been very entertaining, done a brilliant job. I'm sure everybody here and the students all think that you've been really good, so thank you. And I'd also like to thank Precious, who's very much in the background. So Precious was one of our second year students, and she has been rehearsing them over the last few days, going through their presentations with them, going through how to do it. She was in this situation last year, but it's still, she's done a fantastic job of making sure that they were confident today, and is very, very much behind the scenes. Are you actually there, Precious?
Yes,
Helen.
Yeah. Well done, Precious. I'm really pleased. And of course, thank you to Keith and the team. It's amazing the input that everybody gives to them, and how they're able to really fly with these topics. It's very impactful for them, and hopefully for the excellent teachers as well. And finally, the students, you were wonderful. You really presented so well. I feel so proud of you. Every single one of you have written something that's really interesting, deeply meaningful to you, and potentially very impactful. Yes, it's been wonderful working with you on it. I know it's not been straightforward for some of you. It's you know, you don't just sit down, do some research, write it. There's a lot of ups and downs in the process, and I'm very proud of you all for pulling through. So thank you very much, and thank you all our audience as well for giving them that opportunity to present, because that's also a very good part of the essay. So thank you. And I think that's it.
Good night from me in Geneva.
Good night.
Yes, yeah. So from Geneva, from London, from Kent, from Germany, from South Africa,
from Zambia,
and Zambia.
from London, and from London.
Oh, and
Claire has joined us for the last half there as well. So.
Yes, thank you, Claire. That was very odd because you've got a background, haven't you? Yeah. So suddenly Claire just popped up. She didn't walk into it, suddenly she was there. But yes, really nice to see you, Claire. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Okay.